Right, we're live. We're on. I've hit the button.
I can't lie. I've been waiting with bated breath since the last one.
Have you?
To hear the joke that comes from the best joke of the Edinburgh International Fringe
Allow
Festival.
me to tell you. Well, let me tell you, Chris. I was going to sail around the world in the world. No, see, I've screwed that up because you say world twice. That's why he's been quite clever by using the word globe. See that? You can see how you can break that down. Look, Chris's job it is to normally do the jokes. Is looking at me with such disdain.
That's a skill. Keep going, Stewart. So I was going to sail around the world in the world's smallest ship.
No.
You said world twice. I was going to sail around the globe in the world's smallest ship. I've not even seen the joke and I know it.
Can you just get to the punchline?
I was going to sail around the globe in the world's smallest ship, but I bottled it.
Oh, I see.
Oh my God.
Good. So that, listeners, is why you rely on me to tell the jokes.
Oh my God.
Press the button.
I'm glad you're here.
Oh my.
Welcome to the Good Brand Podcast. Normally it's full of jokes and wit and debonair insights to brand, and today will be no exception. My name's Stewart Steele. I'm Strategy Director here at Good, and I'm joined as ever by my colleagues and friends. Chris Lumsden.
Chief Joke Teller. Hello.
And Julie Murdoch.
Hello.
Hello. So you join us again discussing our article that we wrote up on our website around business trends that we've been seeing. We take a look at the emails that are going popping in and go, oh, look, there's some trends happening here. And so one of the trends that we've done two, we're on to our third one today. And this one's quite a short one, and we get it quite a lot, but the question that we get emailed into is, hey, that's not, I've just added that in. Right. I've just added that in for a bit of personality. Hey, we're struggling to communicate our business consistently across different channels. Can you help? Well, the answer is yes.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good.
So that's it. So join us next week.
Different channels, and is it channels and maybe regions and areas as well?
It could be. I mean, generally, it depends on
just
what area.
Consistently,
it's consistent. We had a client that did this years ago. I think it was before I started the Good, so that shows how long it was, where they had a war room. And they would put everything up in, all their printed material, because that's how old it was, out on the table and up on walls to see if it was consistent. And then they would start, going, why is this going off brand and everything else? It is that kind of consistent. And, there's more channels now than ever, more easily accessed. You've got your socials, you've got your emails, you've got even offline things like sales presenters and there's still bits of paper flying about. And when you look at it, is it all coherent? Does it all look as if it's coming from the one place?
It's a good exercise to do.
Yeah, it is. It is interesting.
Still quite a good thing to do.
You look at it. And the question is, sometimes when you put it up, I mean, this client was obviously, everybody knew there was going to be a war room session once a year, so they were quite rigorous at keeping it all tight. But I think other brands that don't do it, and, things are busy. People aren't, again, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Nobody's going, let's spend money on guidelines and then just ignore them. Yeah. Nobody's doing that, but it's the speed of things that have got to happen at, and the urgency and the amount. And so it's understandable that over time it creeps, and suddenly it's not quite as tight as maybe day one. When you get to day 100, it's
I think we were saying this the other day, weren't we? We were talking about it in a workshop, and Stuart was saying, that brands are now expected to be publishers, and the requirement of them to produce content quickly, quality content quickly, is ever increasing. And it's kind of, the more that happens, the content coming out of different teams and in different regions, if it's not all locked down and anchored in a very firm set of guidelines, and it can start to take a different path. I
suppose it also depends culturally on how that organisation is. Is it quite command and control from the centre about brand and very, very tight, or is it more is it more regionally, or there's more autonomy in different areas where people can make their own decisions? And there's no right or wrong again with that. They're both models. They both work equally well. For they've all got pros and cons, but that one where the power can be ceded can create problems, can't it? We've seen that.
And we've also, I mean, to be fair to, from the client side in this workshop, some more probably in the B2C space, although, well, not necessarily, where clients have a lot of the execution lies with distributors, then it's another step away from that kind of core corporate
control.
sort of brand control. So if that's not planned and managed and with fairly tight reins, then it can start to feel quite different quickly.
I suppose the question it needs to be asked, though, if it does look different in different areas, is that a problem? Why is that a problem?
It depends on what. I think the interesting thing is, like years ago, you could do something in one region and it wouldn't be seen by another region. That kind of.
Did the internet change that?
I believe it did. Yeah,
right.
You can find that out. You can find that out in my first book, How the Internet Changed Marketing.
Right, good. No, but I suppose, semi-seriously, is that why,
I think there's one aspect in that. I think you're right. I think it's the approach that the business takes. It's kind of going, we want this. But I think, like McDonald's, for example, to go to B2C, they allow the flexibility between certain region. But there's that, so the kind of guidelines have got to go, what is frozen? What cannot change?
What's fixed and what's flexible?
Fixed, yeah. And then the further up you go, you can, fonts can't change, colors can't change, but maybe your messaging can change. Maybe you can talk about this, or because it's got to be culturally sensitive, so you can change that. But I think there's sometimes a sort of purist view that gets in the way of just the practical political reality of how businesses are run.
Yeah, and you've got to be able to flex with it, haven't you?
Yeah. And a guideline is a guideline and should be. I think the challenge with guidelines, because they're such big exercises to put out and then it's done, and then look, everybody, our guidelines is that they're not revisited.
Well, they're also not a solution. They're only as good as the person interpreting them.
Yeah.
And that gets into issues around quality of resource and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But again, you've got to make sure that it's just all. That even then, if it's changing, why is it changed? Is it because it's there, and maybe update the guidelines accordingly rather than seeing them as a fixed point in time?
Yeah, I think that's the thing, because there are a number of ways that clients can, and depending on the type of the organisation, will depend on, or will dictate how much of that control lies at a corporate level versus, or a kind of head of level versus a regional level. But I think if your brand is showing up looking and sounding different in different markets, then it's a challenge. And I think then it's like you say, it's a where can we help with that, or where can a business like ours help with that? And it does come back to, are the guidelines comprehensive enough? Are they flexible enough? Are they too fixed? Are they too rigid? And that's, so therefore you end up with regions or markets going, well, that doesn't fit my needs, so I'm going to do it this way. But from your point about does it matter? Well, I think yes, but on a number of levels as well. There's the customer perspective, but there's also just the sheer cost that it takes to create that. If you're reinventing the wheel every time you're launching a new product in a different market, then from a marketing efficiency and a cost efficiency point of view, then of course there's overspend there. So then it's to kind of take a step, dial it back, take a few steps back and look at how something like a master guidelines or design language system or whatever it is that, that business operates.
So that phrase that we sometimes talk, clients sometimes say, we really want to push the guidelines on this one.
And as I say in the article, every time you launch a new product, you get a new look, and it's normally over something high profile. So listen. So here's the brief, and
we've been caught in that.
Yeah. Feel free to push the push the guidelines, which means change them,
change it, which is an alarm bell. And the immediate question should be why.
and you do, and the pushback that I've had from time to time is, well, we just want to show them what they could have. And I went, okay. And of course, it's always not better, but different from the guidelines, and different sometimes means better. But then what happens is after 4 or 5, you kind of look at it again, the war room goes up and go, this looks all over the place. This just doesn't look coherent.
I think one thing that we've experienced and we've done with a number of clients when we've been kind of in a brand refresh rather than a rebrand, and this is one of these change everything without changing anything type conversations, is that you can an investment in a bigger investment in a tighter number of high quality assets, is often a good solution, because teams and regions will go and create their own stuff when they don't feel that it's either good enough or it doesn't quite meet their needs. So often, particularly again when B2B and when you're talking about showing product or showcasing product or hero products, I'm not talking about products on white cutout backgrounds and stuff, the sort of day-to-day marketing stuff, but from a campaign and brand point of view, what are those hero shots that you need, and then invest more to create them, and it will pay dividends over time, because
figure out the use cases, and then create around that,
and consult regionally as well. So often when we're planning these types of activity, it's about bringing in those regional teams early to make sure that specific needs are accommodated. So you can be, again, much more efficient with, tell I've come from client service side, can't you? You can be much more efficient with use of budget, although it's a bigger outlay, or it looks like a bigger outlay over time. You'll get much more. I mean, we have clients who are using shots 8 years down the line, and they're still using the same shots, which is great.
I do think that one of the things we talk about in our space that isn't heralded enough is discipline. How do you create a great brand? And we've got a chart on one of the last points, and I think it's one of the most important points is the level of corporate discipline required to keep things the same requires so much more effort than changing things, because the marketing mindset is
because same is boring.
No, same in branding is good.
Yeah, and
same.
And that thing, it's got an and in it, which I really shouldn't put in, but it's discipline and consistency, which are almost kind of two things, but you've got
two sides of the same coin.
Yeah,
you get one, you get the other.
Yeah,
well, it takes discipline to be consistent.
And I think the kind of the consistency is key, because again, and I've said this I can't remember what workshop recently I said, the people who are most bored of this brand are all sitting in this room.
Yeah.
And people are looking for the same thing outside. They're not looking for something different, because you've built up a lot of time and money making these things, these attributes,
these assets,
connect to your brand. As soon as you change it because you're bored at them, you're starting from page one again with your customer.
Yeah.
And there's a lot, and the client kind of went, yeah, that's a good point. And so they get it. But yeah, it's trying to keep it all consistent. Sometimes it's just looking at everyone going, what have you got? And then it's going back and, you would say, Chris, it starts from the very, very beginning.
I do think that part of the rigor around making sure that the brand is ready and its best, it all tracks back to the vision, mission, values. If that stuff's not done well and not defined in a sort of sense, that's ownable by the brand, and it's not the generic anodyne stuff that we see, then is it any surprise that the downstream comms are a bit all over the shop, because it's not rooted or anchored anywhere solidly. And I think there is part of this problem is in that space.
Well, again, to go back to that coin, the two sides of it is the message and the visual aspect. So if you've kind of got the messaging not being correct or feeling outdated or whatever, with a look and feel that's all over the place, you're running into problems, big problems.
Isn't it interesting that the 3 topics that we've talked about so far are about how, I don't know, the themes seem to be around how businesses have grown and things have changed, or layers have been added, and it's about our job is helping them rationalize that, or take a comb through all that, create order where there's a lack of coherence. I think that's quite interesting. That's how the role of brand, if it's not nailed down, or if it's not tamed or trimmed or controlled, it gets out of hand, and then this is where the problem starts.
Yep.
I think.
Sorry, Jules.
No, I was just going to say, again, the workshop we were talking about last week, because we were just sort of, as Stewart likes to do, starting off with definitions and why it's important and what the role of brand is, and that first point around aiding customer decision making. You're making it, everything we're doing should be trying to make our customers' lives and decisions easier. So whether that's how you look, and so you're instantly recognizable, or whether it's what you're talking about, or whether it's all your attitude and all the kind of foundational stuff, it all comes back to that, which is kind of...
Yeah, well, strong brands build trust.
Yeah.
None of this, I don't really like, it's the emotional space in your head. It's basically trust is what you're trying to build with a strong brand over time. And
recognition.
Yeah,
trust,
and if it is all over the place, nobody's going, I don't trust that brand. Nobody's consciously entering in, but it will feel a little bit ropey. And if somebody else is doing it, then you're kind of going, right, that seems a little bit more trustworthy.
Yeah, and it's answering my question. Yeah, interesting one. Yeah. Interesting one. Lots of themes in there.
Oh, we have lots of themes. Right, well, we've only got 2 more. I'm sorry to say 2 more. There's only 2 left, and we'll next
then
time
start a new series, and it'll be even more exciting.
Cannot wait.
I'm enjoying this series.
Oh, good. Right, that's us. Cheerio.
Bye.